Alright, Crafty Hope, and welcome. It is time for us to create the week, oh my gosh, what, 37 mixed media prompt card for hashtag Crafty Hope prompts. Again, I say again, but if you've watched this before, you know what's about to happen. If you are new, I'm going to make a prompt card. Basically, back in October, I started creating prompt cards. I knew there were 52 cards in a playing card deck, 52 weeks in a year, and that was a great opportunity to alter some playing cards into prompt cards. So I made up a list of 156 prompts. You can get that list below if you want it. If you don't want to do this the way I'm doing it and would rather draw your own prompts, go for it. And that's a whole invitation for you to play along. What I do is each Monday I draw 3 prompts from that full list, and then I use those prompts to alter both sides of a playing card. One side I make my my pretty side that's just decorative, and then the other side is my functional side that has those prompts written on it, so that I can later on pull these as part of a prompt deck to get inspiration in other ways. In addition, on Saturdays of each week, I make a different project using those same prompts, just so that I'm doing something outside of a card. It gets my juices flowing, because I don't intend to reuse these with just these 3 prompts. You know, I may use them in a combination and pull them and pick and choose prompts. So that's an opportunity for me to use those 3 in one way. And I've done all kinds of different things with those 3 prompts. I've done like junk journal pages like I just did. Oh, where is it? This past week. I've done art journal pages and tags and canvases and assemblage projects and all kinds of things. So I invite you to play along. You can use the 3 prompts that I'm using each week and do, again, you don't have to do a card. You can do whatever. You can work in your junk journal or art journal. And I just ask that you use that hashtag Crafty Hope prompts. And you can also pull your own prompts if you don't like the ones that I pull. So, any of that is unclear, I absolutely welcome your questions. Also, don't mind that I'm on week, what did I say, 37? I can't believe I'm so far along on this. You know, go ahead, start now, play along, play as it inspires you. If you miss a week, don't worry about it. Just get inspired. This is about creating, just having an opportunity to create. Okay, so I'm going to put aside this lovely stack and move my blank cards, and we're going to open my tub, and we are going to pull the first prompt, and that is book page. Okay guys, that's easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I tend to collage with all kinds of like book pages anyway, so I just have to make sure that there is somehow in some way a book page on my surface. For you, that shouldn't be that hard. If you know, have an old book, or you could even like go online and look up a quote from your favorite book and maybe print that out if you don't have books that you're willing to tear apart. But I recommend, if you don't have any, pop by the thrift store and grab one and take it, you know, one that you don't care about, take it apart. And if you don't have that, maybe a magazine page, maybe a stamp that looks like a book page, or something else with some kind of writing or typewritten things or something on it. I say go by to the thrift store, but that's only because I say why not have that in your stash. But if you don't want to go to the thrift store, if you want to use the things that you have, please do that. Don't go buy something if you don't think you'll use it. Okay? All right, that's prompt 1. Easy. Prompt 2. Let's hope for easy also. Sandpaper. I knew this one was coming soon. I was just thinking about it. So I like to use sandpaper as a way to rough up a page. I haven't used it in ages. So like I said, I knew this one was coming, and I'm kind of glad it is finally here. So I can use a sanding block or sanding paper. If you've got like a nail file, that would work, or like a buff block for nails, even like pumice stones. Let me see, I knew I had something over here that I wanted to try. Oh, and I don't know where I put it. I know I've got things that are sanding. But just think about something that'll rough up a page in some way, even if you've got, where is it? One of these things. I've got one of these things that like distress the edges of something. So, and if you don't have this, you can use your scissors and rough up the edge of something. Just something that's going to add a little bit of age. Okay, not too bad. Not too bad. All right, prompt number 3. Oh, this is bad, is hearts. So that in general, I just mean image of hearts. You can draw them on, paint them on, stamp them, use stickers or stencils, or cut out heart shapes, or use paper punches of hearts. Just hearts, the heart motif. That's not that hard. It's one of those prompts. I don't use a lot of heart imagery in my work because it always feels very juvenile to me. I know it's not, it just feels that way sometimes. I actually just did one of my 100-day projects. It's sitting here, has a heart imagery in it. So something like that would be fine. Okay guys, I am going to think on this for a minute. I don't have to really grab much more than maybe a book paper, which I don't really need because I use a lot of dictionary, which is a book. And I'll grab some sandpaper. And then hearts, yeah, I don't think I'll need much. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I have to admit that normally I just go gather things and I get started on this, but I had to go make lunch and run some errands, and so I'm trying to remember what it was I gathered. So for book page, I do have part of a book page here. And then I've got all of my, box of scraps, which has loads of different book pages in it. So I think I'm good on book page. I guess that prompt is there just to be like, do something with that. But sandpaper. So I did grab just a piece of sandpaper that has been folded. I've got a sanding block from the Dollar Tree. It's a nail buffer that could be used. It's not going to do a whole lot, but I also have this, which is like I think it's a pumice thing for feet maybe, and either side of this, I mean, like this could really tear some stuff up, but it could be fun to try to use because I don't think I have used it. I had to go looking for it because I knew I'd bought it, but I didn't know where it was. So I found it, so that could be fun to use. All right, so that is sandpaper, and then hearts. I didn't gather anything because we'll figure it out. Hopefully. Okay, so I'm gonna put these up and we're gonna get started. Per usual, I am starting this with some collage. I do not like the plastic lamination on the cards because you can't really add a whole lot to it. So I collage on top. I use an acrylic matte medium, and that works pretty great. You could also sand the card down or add gesso or something like that if you don't want to begin yours with a collage, if you're doing altered playing cards. But it's just like how I like to do it. And since we have that book page prompt, that's perfect. I am collaging down book pages and I'll be doing that on both sides. So I'm trying to use plenty of that matte medium to get these down and cover up all of that carding sand. Put like a tiny little corner there because I had missed the corner when I laid that down. And when I get all of this applied, I will trim off the excess. And at some point here, I don't even know what point it is, but these little slivers that get cut off where I trim it, they're just landing on my desk. And the front of that card is still sticky with that medium. So I am going to end up putting that right into it, and it adds some texture. It's kind of neat. Yeah, apparently I missed a corner there too, so I'm trying to get that on, and this is interesting. So I do try, I think I'm going to trim it again. Oh, see here I put it down trying to fold things over, and when I do that, I get it. I think that's when I get the stuff on the front of the card. We're going to see, yeah. So I decided to just use the stickiness that was on there to start picking up some of the other pieces that were on my desk. Because it's all book paper, or book pages. So yeah, that was fun. And now I'm going to go ahead and dry it before I do anything else to it. So once it's dry for the most part, I realize that my corners aren't stuck down great. So I'm going to go ahead and just use a little bit more of that matte medium to get those on, and then flip it over and add more book pages to the other side. This time I'm going to start with some dictionary paper rather than
the whatever that book page, that other book page was. That was some kind of novel or nonfiction. I don't know. Some kind of book page. And that covered the whole card, so I don't have to be quite as futzy about getting some of those edges and corners and stuff like I did on that first side. But again, I am going to trim off the excess. I think, and I should have thought about this because I was trying to be so careful with trimming off that excess and not thinking about the fact that sandpaper is one of my props and I could absolutely use the sandpaper to trim off that excess. I will do that at some point in here, but I didn't think about it at the time. I was just like, get the book page down. So I'm getting the book page down. And this one, I'm just using larger pieces. You know, I did the main back piece, and then I did 2 long pieces up and down, and then 2 smaller pieces side to side. And of course, I didn't get enough of my adhesive, so I'm going to go again. There we go. And I will trim it and dry it. I know, I should have sped this up, but I wanted y'all to see, I mean, this is one of the prompts, and this is one of the very few ways I incorporate the book page into this card. All right, so I had a general idea that I wanted to try, and this is what this project is about, is being experimental. So I've got a little bit of Liquitex Basic Gesso in white that I put on my card, and I'm going to spread it out. And there's going to be a lot of drying here, so I'm spreading this out, and then I'm going to dry the card. And then I will add a light shade of blue here. I don't remember what it's called, y'all, I'm sorry. But it's a light shade of blue, and I will spread it on the card and dry it, and then do a slightly darker shade of blue. And I think this next shade of blue actually is called light turquoise, if I'm remembering right. And then I'll do a slightly darker shade of blue, and I'm just building layers up here. So this one, I was trying to, I didn't cover the whole card. I was trying to dry brush it and see if it would pick up it. Not really dry brush it, but like just put it on kind of lightly and not completely coat it, but whatever. It wasn't a very dark color of blue, so I decided, okay, that won't be my last one. I'm going to use this one, which is the darkest blue I end up putting on. And I'm going to put it on fairly dry and kind of scattered. I will wet my paintbrush there to kind of help move it around because I just wanted it on kind of thinly on that top. Yeah, so I'm using my finger to move it around across the card. And again, I'm going to dry this. Now, I'm coming in with some of my sanding tools. I'm going to go ahead and start with the sandpaper because that is the prompt. And you can see it almost immediately starts pulling up some of the paper because it's probably a heavier grit than I should have used, but it gives it some age. It's interesting. And I'm going to just work through some of these tools, trying to see how each of them kind of work. I think it was this buffing block that was my favorite thing because it helps smooth everything down and it exposed those layers of paint like I kind of wanted to happen. And it also exposed the texture that's on there from those layers of collage I put down. So this is a technique I really want to try again. I need to find some more of those little sanding blocks. I know that the Dollar Tree used to carry them, but I think the last time I had to buy one at my grocery store because I couldn't find any at the whatchamacallit at the dollar store. Okay, so I have gotten that kind of sanded down. In the end, you're not going to be able to see some of that texture, but I did work on it. Now, at this point, I wasn't sure what side was going. Oh no, see, I hadn't tried this one yet. So I was like, let's go in here. And see, there I am getting some of the stuff off the edges. I am roughing up those edges. And that was a lot of fun. I really like that tool. Again, this is from the Dollar Tree. I think it's for feet. So it's in the, what would you call that section? Like the hygiene section or bath section, maybe? Okay, so this side I decided to just go ahead and start with the sandpaper. So I am sanding back some of the pages on there, just some of the words, some of the stuff that's on there. It's not a big deal. Again, I'm going to work through it. I will work these tools into this again. But I didn't know what side was going to be my functional side and what side's going to be my decorative side. So I was just like, well, let's play around with this a little bit more, see what happens. and experiment. This was a longer process than I anticipated for my card, but I enjoyed playing. So since I had roughed up some of the paper, I thought it might be fun to put down a little bit of acrylic ink. This is Amsterdam in warm gray, I think. I wanted something just fairly neutral. So you can see I'm spreading it all over the card, but then I'm going to grab a towel and just blot it up. So really the ink kind of soaked into the areas where the paper had been like exposed from the sanding, if that makes sense. So I was thinking about it a little more. I'm going to sand down some more. Oh, it was hot from me drying it. You see me keep putting it down. I had heated it so much I could barely hold the thing. Y'all, yeah. So I sanded the edges of that a little bit. And then I was like, well, I need some color on this. What am I going to do? So I grabbed this. It's some, y'all, it's ink for fountain pens, I think. And it's like a mica ink. I got it, I believe, from Five Below. It came with like some fountain pen, I think, but I really liked the ink. That's the reason I bought it. The fountain pen, I don't think I ever could get to work right. But the ink's great. It's got little bits of like mica in it. It's really pretty. So you saw I spread that around a little bit on the card and then wet that just to kind of see what would happen. I knew I wanted kind of a transparent color, so that was kind of perfect. And at this point, I've decided this is going to be my prompt side, my functional side. So I decided to go ahead and pull out, since that ink had some mica in it that was kind of a gold color. I've got this Modern Masters gold paint that you can see, just painting some stripes across. I probably should have dried between the layers, but no, not me. Not going to have patience. Not going to burn my fingers again. So I went ahead and put the second layer on while that was wet, and then I will go ahead and dry it. And I started to try to use that buffer to sand down the edges of that gold paint, but it was still a little wet, so I'm going to use my fingers to just kind of rub those edges to make sure it's good and dry before I go ahead and use the sandpaper again to kind of, I don't know, sand them down, because they were kind of clumpy from how much paint I put on them. And they're my prompts, and I will trim them down. I'm going to do that off camera. You don't have to see. But then I do ink them with some Distress ink and black soot, just to give them, I don't know, a bit of shadow and interest. And I'm trying not to be boring with them. I don't know. I'm so afraid of covering them so that they can't be seen. So I'm not putting like inks and stuff over them, because I'm afraid if I do that, then I won't be able to see my words. So inking the edges is a great use for that. And I'm going to use an Uhu glue stick to stick them down. Yeah, just real quick. I don't need anything major. And I'm trying to remember this one, it's got all three of, no, it doesn't have all three. I haven't put hearts on it yet. So I've got those down, and now I think I'm going to ink the edges of the card just so that echoes that same black soot color as on the, it carries that through. So it's not just on the words. And now I've got to bring hearts in. So I have these border stamps. I think they're from Stampabilities, and they're like tiny borders or something like that. I'll try to link it if I can find it. I don't know if I can. But I'm going to put that down. I knew that there was one on there with little hearts. So I pulled that one out, and it's just like a little line of hearts. And I decided, since I've got the pink on there, I needed to bring out another color in there. So I use Blueprint Sketch, which is kind of almost a primary blue, but it ends up, when it dries, as more periwinkle. I don't know why that is, but it could be because I stamped it on top of that pink ink. Maybe that was it. I don't know. But I'm gonna put those hearts, kind of, you see, just stripes of it above and below each of my words, and I'll grab a pen. And I'm gonna, I don't know, put a little frame almost around the gold paint, just for something else, and then use that pen to write my 37 on the top for week 37. So now it's time to work on my decorative side. And I don't know, for some reason I knew I had this little bit of some Tim Holtz photo booth. Photo strip. Yeah. Anyway, it was sitting on my desk, and I decided I wanted to use it. So I'm going to trim off. I started to try to sand the edges of it with that weird foot tool. What is it called, y'all? It's not a pumice stone because it's not the stone thing. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sanding it down, tearing it a little bit, but I really like how rough I could be with that foot tool. And I even go on top of the photo a little bit. And I really, I picked out this picture because I knew I needed to use hearts, and there's these two people that are very close to each other, so they're obviously a couple of some kind. Otherwise, that's a weird brother sister relationship. Um, but so I sanded that and then added some more of that distress ink and black soot, and I'm looking at this trying to decide how I want to add hearts, what I want to do, and something made me look in my little thing of brads because I was thinking I had some heart-shaped ones. You can see me picking up that red one. But I couldn't find any little heart-shaped ones, so what I decided to do is pull out two like regular sized brads that I'm going to put through the hole. So I grabbed my Crop-A-Dile to punch some holes that are big enough. First, I'm going to test to make sure the holes are big enough before I punch through that that photo that I've spent so much time sanding. So then I'm going to test it on a scrap to make sure I can get the brads through. Yep. So that works. So I'm going to go ahead and punch holes. And I decided to just do the top of the photo. So just like it's pinned at the top. I don't know, y'all. It was an idea. I'm playing. All of this is just about playing and experimenting. So when it came to this, I knew I couldn't spread the legs of the brad out, like you would in two different directions because it would show. So I'm just folding down the long one and then toward the bottom and then the other one over the top. And I'll end up gluing those down so they don't spin or anything. But from there, I wanted to put hearts on top of the brads. So I tried my Posca paint pen first, which wasn't as dark as I wanted, and I almost immediately could just wipe it off. Yeah, so once I realized I could just wipe it off that easy, I was like, all right, we're going to do some paint. And I grabbed some acrylic paint in a bright red. I believe this is some Martha Stewart. I don't know. I just grabbed some acrylic craft paint. And I've got a tiny, tiny brush, and I am making hearts by doing that thing where you basically make a V. And the V is a heart. I hope y'all can see that, but you'll get another chance to see me do it some more in a second. So I'm going to put those aside to, no, do I put it aside to dry yet? I don't remember. I start, pick some stuff up, move some things around while I'm thinking about this. What am I going to do here? I think I decided I needed to go ahead and add in book page again, since you can't see any of the book page there. And I'm going to cut out sentiment from a book page, and I can't remember what it says, but it's definitely, it was like he and she talked quietly in a corner or something like that, where it was something that was definitely pertaining to a couple. And yeah, so that's what I cut out. You'll see it at the end. I do not have it in front of me while I'm doing this, and I can't see it on this little screen. So once I have that cut out, I'm going to go ahead and glue it down with my Oohoo. I've decided to put my photo of my couple up at the top of the page. Like I said, since it felt like it was being tacked up, I'd tack it up at the top of the page. Alright, so now it comes to gluing it, and I could see that brad's falling out. They're spinning around, so I was like, alright, I need to attach those. So I'm going to try to get some E6000 right behind those brads, since it is metal, just to make sure, because I didn't think, Fabri-Tac would probably work, but I'd rather not take my chances. And I'll use some clothespins to kind of hold that down while and I don't know why, for some reason I decided to use the walnut stained distressed ink on this. Oh, because I did use that on the photo too, because I felt that would make it look more vintage than the black soot. I think that was my thinking. And since I was waiting for all that to dry, I was like, let me go ahead and add some more hearts. So I'm going to do a little line of those tiny hearts along the bottom. So it's not like the stamp I did, because the stamp has the hearts upside down and right side up. And this is just tiny little ones. Like I said, make it by basically making a V. I don't know how else to explain that. All right, I didn't really give this enough chance to dry, but I've decided it needs to be done. And I realized at that point that I had not given my hearts enough time to dry when I flipped it over. So I'm going to have to add them back in. And then I grab my Fabri-Tac and I'm gonna, well, it's clogged, of course, and I'm gonna go ahead and put that on the back, and I'll use the paper clips, not paper clips, clothespins, again to hold this all together. And I'm going to pull out my heat tool to kind of dry the hearts on there and get them on there a little more secure, but to make sure that they stay on and don't get scraped off later, I will pull out. Oh, see, before I could dry them, I'd already messed one up. Or I did. Oh, I didn't like that one. It didn't have a point at the bottom. That's what it was. So I dried this, and then I pull out my glossy accents. Now, it is also clogged up, so it's going to take me, I got to get a pen out a couple times and all of that. But I basically sealed the top of those brads with my glossy accents. Once I give it time to dry, this card's going to be done. Yeah, so that is my card number 37. That includes a book page or book pages, sandpaper, and hearts. It was a little more intense than some of mine have been for sure, and I hope you liked it. If you have any questions, please ask away. If you like this, please give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. All of that helps me get seen, and that way we can share this project with more people for the algorithms and all that craziness. All right, guys, I will see y'all very soon. I will definitely be back on Saturday with my project. I will see y'all then, at least. Bye.